Good evening and welcome to More Than Enough Rope, where we return to the scene of our favourite interviews. Tonight we had planned to go inside the criminal mind of conman Peter Foster, but due to legal reasons we're unable to do so in Queensland. All is not lost, however. For our Sunshine State viewers, we offer another criminal brain, and it's a beauty. This one belonging to Mark Chopper Reid.
I don't have any guns in my house at all. I have no guns in my possession. I don't carry a gun. I haven't carried a gun in years.
If you needed one quickly?
Of course, if I needed one quickly, I could get a gun. Don't be ridiculous.
When we interviewed Reid in 2003, our aim was to get beyond the popular image, the lovable rogue, Uncle Chop Chop. We wondered about a man for whom violence had been at various times a way of life, a tool of the trade and a marketing angle. Should he be celebrated? Should he be condemned out of hand? Or was neither appropriate? In true criminal tradition, you be the judge. Now, who is Mark Reid and who is Chopper, and which one am I talking to tonight?
You're talking to whoever you want to be talking to. Who do you want to be talking to?
I want to talk to Mark Reid, but what's the difference?
Talk to Mark Reid. Ask for Mark Reid and you talk to Mark Reid.
What's the difference?
I don't know. You tell me. What is the difference?
I can't tell you. I'm not you.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the difference is. I mean, one's a nickname that I was given when I was in grade 2. Come from a Yaki Doodle cartoon, Hanna-Barbera. Yaki Doodle, Chopper and Yaki. Little duck and a big dog. That's where it come from, a cartoon. The fact that I went on to do other things that the nickname sort of blended in with it was, where would I be today if they had a nickname me Fluffy, you know?
More to the point, where would the nickname Fluffy be today? If that's what they call it?
Fluffy be, yeah.
You claim that your myth, the Chopper story, is really exaggerated, not just by the Chopper film, which you collaborated on, but also by the many books that you've written. So which part of your myth would you like to retract?
Well, I don't want to retract anything. I wrote books, right? Now, how many times in those books have I got to tell you that in certain areas I'm pulling your leg or let you be the judge? And I've clearly stated this, unless you can't read. You know, it's there. They can either believe it or disbelieve it. I couldn't give a shit. I mean, the books are $14.95. It's not the Holy Bible.
You said you had a maggot of a life. Tell us about your childhood. What was that like?
If you want to hear about my childhood, I'll tell you about it. But I don't dwell on it, nor do I use it as a sort of an excuse for how I turned up. I didn't have a very nice childhood. There were several attempts to do away with me when I was a little kid.
By who?
Well, by none of your business. That's by who.
This is clearly a man used to dominating a conversation. A lot of people have asked me if I was nervous. The answer is I wasn't at the time. A couple of days after the interview, when Chopper yelled at one of our producers on the phone, I did feel a slight twinge.
There were several attempts to do away with me when I was a little kid.
By who?
Well, by none of your business. That's by who.
But why would someone want to do away with a kid?
What I was trying to say is, you know, like I spent a little while in an orphanage because, you know, I'm not going to come on TV and slag off my relatives.
No, I'm not asking you, but why would someone want to do away with a kid?
When I was born, my mother said that I was not a gift from God. Things went downhill from there.
You were afraid of your mum, weren't you?
Yeah.
Why?
My mother was a devout Seventh-day Adventist who placed religion above anything else.
Which meant what for you?
Well, I had no mother. She was devoted to her church, and that was it. And you were either with her or against her.
And what about your dad?
Well, my dad was a different kettle of fish altogether. He was a good guy.
Yeah.
I like my dad.
Did your dad love your mum?
Yeah, of course he loved my mum very much.
Even though your mum was
my dad
religion?
became a Seventh-day Adventist to marry my mother.
So, as a kid, how did you experience love?
Well, I through my father.
You were 17 when you first did time. Do you remember what that was for?
Some obscure thing. They called it attempted storeroom breaking. I don't know how they were trying to knock the back door off a nightclub. I don't know how they figured that out. And that was when I was 16 and a half years old. That's right. I went to Toronto Boys Home. Then after that, there was I was 17 years old, I belted up 3 policemen.
At
They
17?
were bouncers at a nightclub. After they get punched up, they then pull out their badges and want to arrest everyone, so give them another good kicking. But the thing is that...
There it is, laughter. None of us would be laughing if this happened at the end of our street, but for some reason people find it funny in the comfort of a studio.
The thing is, they shouldn't have been working 2 jobs at one time, you know? They shouldn't have been. This is back in 1971. What are they doing there at a dance at 2 in the morning, flashing their badges, you know?
So you were being quite morally correct then?
Well, they were already giving it to a friend of mine, so we jumped in, and then they all turned out to be police. That's having your cake and eating it as well.
When you were 15, you were put into a mental institution.
Yeah, I've been certified mentally insane 3 times. Once at the age of 15, once at the age of 19, and once at the age of 23.
And why would people do that?
Well, my mother put me into a mental hospital when I was 15 because I left the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and she felt that if I could be deemed mentally insane, then I would be forgiven in the eyes of God and go to heaven. So my old man got me out of hospital on that one.
How long were you in that first time?
Enough to give me 60 serves of shock treatment in 6 months.
Now, on what grounds were you given shock treatment?
Because that's what they gave. Everyone got wheeled in for a goodly dose of the electricity.
But on what grounds were you...
There was no grounds.
On what grounds were you committed, though? You can't be committed for being a Seventh-day Adventist.
No, I was committed. I was committed by a Seventh-day Adventist psychiatrist, a Seventh-day Adventist mother, and I went to hospital. That was it.
Your father didn't have a say in this?
My father got me out.
How could your mother do this without your father's knowledge or approval?
Because he loved my mother and wanted to stay married to her.
You didn't just have shock treatment, you had a large number of calming down drugs and antipsychotics.
Yeah, a thing called the deep Valium. Some people call it the deep sleep therapy.
Was there more to it than the fact that you were there because of your mother's wishes? This amount of treatment, was there something in you that needed to be suppressed?
Well, then you better go and subpoena the psychiatrist involved and question him, because they didn't tell me about it. They didn't tell me what was going on. I'm 15 years old.
What about when you were 19 and 23?
19, yeah, they probably had a reason to certify me then.
Which was?
I don't know, but they would have had a good reason. There'd be too many reasons to think of. I was right off my head then.
Yeah.
23, well, the ears had just come off. What else could they do? That was, you know.
Yeah. That's a fairly good point. You don't like, though, the thought of being labelled a nutter, do you?
No.
Why is that?
Well, who wants to be labelled a nutter? I try to get away from it, you know.
You're happy to write books about being a violent, psychotic criminal, but you don't like to be labelled a nutter. Is there somehow more dishonour in mental illness than in violence?
Yeah, there is.
Why is that?
I saw more man's inhumanity to man in our mental hospitals than I ever saw in our jails. Anyone who thinks that the jails are a rough place ought to go and visit our psychiatric institutions, and then they'd get a look at the real world.
You said before the second time they put you away, they probably had a good reason. What I'm driving at here is you had your ears cut off to get out of H Block, wrongly believing they could be put back on. You walked into a courtroom, pointed a shotgun at a judge to get a mate freed from jail. Are these the actions of a sane man?
Well, looking back at it, no. Of course they weren't.
Your rap sheet's interesting. I've got your rap sheet here. This is, we've got a 1975 attempted robbery, 78 assault, 78 malicious wounding, 78 kidnapping, big year 78, 79 willfully injuring yourself, 1981 assault with a weapon, 1989 intention to cause serious injury, 1989 criminal damage, 1989 reckless conduct, 1989 prohibited in possession of a pistol, prohibited person, 1992 shooting. You were acquitted of a murder in 1989. Do you take responsibility for any of that?
Yeah, all of it.
There was a lot of debate within the Enough Rope team about putting someone with this kind of record on television. One producer left the meeting in tears at the very thought. Initially, I wasn't sure either, but remembering the Elle McFeast fiasco, Chopper's last TV appearance, and the way in which many interviewers tended to giggle at the violence of his stories rather than addressing it, I thought it was worth a try at a different approach. Just trying to drive at the person you are, before we talk about the person you
Well, I did
have
it.
become today?
I did it, so
Yeah.
I had to take responsibility for it because I spent 23 years in jail because of it. So,
So is that Chopper or is that Mark Reed that does that?
well, again, there is no difference. One's a nickname.
Chopper, though.
Unless I'm missing,
Yeah.
I'm missing the philosophical fine argument.
Okay, well, Chopper is a man who, through the media, is now associated
Oh,
with...
yes. Chopper and me live a life totally different. He's God knows what he's up to. But, people's idea about who and what Chopper is, I can't even fathom that.
You spent almost half your adult life in prison. How many women made approaches to you for relationships while you were in prison?
Oh, stacks, but you wouldn't wear them on a brooch. I mean, W.C. Fields said that he'd never be a member of any club that'd have him, and that was my attitude too. I mean, you're in jail, you got no ears, and you're getting written to by these. Just don't be ridiculous, Anyone mad enough to write me a letter, you're like, I'm going to take them home for tea, but pigs, they can't wait.
You were worried about them?
Jesus.
Why would someone fall in love with Mark Chopper Reed?
Yeah. I don't want to meet them. Frightening thought, no.
So after 22 years...
No, look, I'm married, it's different. My wife's out the back now, she has a baby in 3 months' time. I mean, but I didn't meet her in jail. I've known her for 30 years. I met her in a fish and chip shop.
You just spent most of your life living in a violent and hostile environment.
Yeah.
How then do you relate to women?
I was always polite and courteous. I didn't really relate to them at all much. I was just polite and courteous. Hello, how are you? What do you want me to do?
You married Mary Ann Hodge when you were in Risdon prison.
She wrote to me.
Yeah.
She wrote to me. And I married her.
Well, hang on. She wrote to you, but you married her. Why would you marry her?
Oh, well, you do these things.
There's no other reason?
Look, I've got a lovely son, Charlie, and I love my son. I love Margaret. She's my first love, and I've been with her most of my life, virtually, and now she's going to have a baby. It was just something that happened back there in Tasmania, and...
Well, this is what you told ABC Radio last year.
Yeah, I know, and I shouldn't talk to radio.
Well, let's hear it.
Late at night when I've had a few to drink.
Yeah, let's hear it.
My marriage to Mary Ann was a sham. I married her in Risdon prison in order to get out of jail on legal advice from Michael Hodgman, QC MP, God bless him.
The mouth from the south.
The mouth from the south. He said, get married to one of the local hillbillies and get yourself out of here. And that's exactly what I did.
All right. Well, when my son grows up, and I hope he doesn't ever see this, but the truth was, well, I just had to play the cards that were dealt to me. I was in a state I didn't like. I was in a shitpot little prison down in Tasmania. The whole place was like Mississippi. Everyone was related to everyone. I couldn't get over it. This is not a joke. These people are related to each other. And I couldn't believe it. Half the bloody prisoners are related to the screws. It was ridiculous, And I said, where am I? Get me out of this weird little place. What's going on? Ooh.
This is the Mark Chopper Reed he wants us to see, the entertainer in the shiny jacket and showbiz shoes. And he is good at it, charismatic and funny. It works for him too. Every time we get close to an uncomfortable truth, Chopper brings out the song and dance act. If I follow up with a serious question, it makes me seem like a party pooper.
And so I married Mary Ann, and then everything just fell into place. And
did Mary Ann know that was the plan, that you were just marrying her to get
It wasn't
out?
really my plan. It was just sort of like I knew I had to either... I couldn't beat him, so I had to somehow join him.
Did she think that you loved her, though?
Yes, I'm sure she thought I loved her.
You were a standover man for many years. What is it like to physically dominate another human being?
Well, standover man. I don't know what you think of what a standover man was. This is what we did. We simply went along and we we negotiated with people. We said, rightio, you're earning 60 grand a night selling heroin, right? I'd like about 20, please. That's not too much to ask. $20,000. So why are we even having this conversation? You know, and they want to argue with you. Well, that's when it starts getting insulting. I mean, the blokes, you know, and they're not going to give you 20 grand. You know, and so that's how it all started up. We didn't go along and just, you know, pick on people.
Sure, there was a reason. There was a reason to stand over, but then you have to deliver with some sort of threat, don't you? Otherwise, they're not going to hand over $20,000 for nothing.
Well, you've got to deliver a couple of times in order to get the other people to fall into line.
And you can only do that if you can deliver on the threat. So I ask again, what is it like to physically dominate another human being?
I didn't think of it in that way. They had a matter of, what, minutes or probably half an hour to come up with the money, and that's all it was to it.
And if they don't come up with it, what happens?
Bugger you. And that's it. I mean...
you just walk off?
Well, I walk off, yes. I certainly walk off.
It's not much of a standover, man, is it?
You don't. You stay where you are. I walk off.
Yeah.
And I didn't think of it in that light. We didn't run around picking on individuals that couldn't defend themselves. These blokes had guns. They had bodyguards. They had mates carrying guns. They used to go and get their cars armour glassed and all this sort of stuff. They'd have Uzi machine guns, $1,200 for Uzi machine gun, and then couldn't figure out how to buy the ammunition. It was ridiculous. They lived the dream. They art imitating life imitating art. You got a bloke that's he just made 60 grand on a Sunday night in a heroin deal, right? The next day he's out there in a limousine, a couple of Sheilas, plenty of money, guns. He's high as a kite on speed or coke. Suddenly the movie's become reality. He's living the movie. So what do you got? He turns into a dangerous schizo. He's got to go. You know, you can't have these people around. And we used to take money off those guys. I mean, what's the problem?
Is there pleasure to be had from another man's fear?
No, I didn't take any pleasure in it. I mean, we didn't do this all the time. This is only once and every now and again. You know, a nice one jumps up. You got to, you know, and so we'd have a go at him.
When was the last time you hurt someone deliberately?
Oh, it'll be years ago now. Going back to 1991, I pleaded not guilty to that.
That was shooting Sam Collins.
Sydney Michael Collins.
Sydney Collins, yeah, in the stomach. And what was that time like?
Well, I pleaded not guilty to that.
Yeah, you pleaded not guilty, but what was it like when it happened?
Well, I pleaded not guilty to it, so therefore I can't tell you what it was like when it happened because I pleaded not guilty to it, and I said I didn't do it in the Supreme Court, and if I was to come out and say I did it, it's perjury, I get 15 years. Even though I said I did it, 15 years later, it doesn't matter. I didn't do it.
Have you ever hit a woman?
No.
Seriously?
No.
Who was that chopper in the film?
My father never hit my mother. So therefore I don't know why, I just never hit a woman. I've been 23 years in jail, so there's 23 years of my life where I wasn't henpecked by anybody, female. I reserve the right to walk out the door. You know, I've never walked into a door I couldn't walk out of, right? So why would I have to bash the woman? That's what the door's for. It's got hinges. You go, you know, and you hurt people more by just saying, well, you know, piss on you, I'm going.
Do you have fear in your life? Have you ever been really afraid?
I got stabbed in the heart once with a screwdriver, right in here, by a Yugoslav guy called Hello Buddy. That's all we ever called him, Hello Buddy, because he couldn't speak in English. He used to walk past you and say, Hello Buddy. And I'd say, Hello Buddy, Hello Buddy, Hello Buddy. And one day I ignored him, and he just backed up and stabbed me straight through the heart with a screwdriver. And I looked down, like that. And I walked up to the screws really gently. I felt a bit of sort of with me breathing. And they took me over to the medical area and they brought the ambulance over. The ambulance wouldn't take me because they couldn't lie me down because the screwdriver was out the back. They said, if you lie him, it's through his heart. They thought it was through my heart. I thought it was through my heart. So if we can't lie him down, we can't take him sitting up. So I went to the hospital in a yellow cab and they took me to the x-ray room. All these doctors are looking at me, figuring out, you know, a maze. And this doctor come down, he just walked up and went like, pulled it straight out. And then later on, they put 3 stitches in it. They've got a little scar right here. And this is what he reckons happened. There's the heart. There's the pumpers. There's a screwdriver. Pumping like that. What's the chances of that? And he said, well, if it was for your heart, you wouldn't be standing there. The fact that you got to hospital meant that there's only one way to get a screwdriver out. And then he told me, he said, well, you ever seen these blokes with axes in their heads? He says, how do you think they get pulled out? Do you think we operate them out? He said, you bring them in, there's the entire team stand around, get set, ready, go. Someone's got to pull the bloody axe out. And so yes, on that occasion, I was going off to hospital in the yellow cab with a screwdriver from my heart. I thought to myself, this is it.
Why are you still in Melbourne? Why are you back there where all the underworld that you know still are? If you want to be Mark Reed, not Chopper, why are you back where there's temptation and danger?
Well, there's no temptation. I mean, I live in Collingwood. I mean, which, as far as I'm concerned, Collingwood's the cultural heartland of Australia. I love Collingwood. I mean, and that's where I want to live. I want to live in Collingwood, and I couldn't give a bugger who lives around me. I got half the Crims of Melbourne living within 300 yards of where I live. As long as they do what they do and stay out of Collingwood, I couldn't care less.
So you don't think anyone will ever square up with you as part of the ongoing story?
Well, you know, if they do, they do.
How many guns do you have?
I don't have any guns in my house at all. I have no guns in my possession. I don't carry a gun. I haven't carried a gun in years.
If you needed one quickly?
Of course, if I needed one quickly, I could get a gun. Don't be ridiculous. But the thing is, I don't carry them. And as far as people wanting to kill me, or the perception that people might want to kill me, well, you know, if they kill me, they kill me. I hope they make it quick and painless.
You've got a new baby on the way.
Yeah.
Do you know the difference between right and wrong to teach to a kid?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do, yeah. I don't want my kid growing up like me. I don't want my son growing up like me, or my daughter growing up like me. I don't want them growing up cutting their ears off and spend 23 years in jail. I don't like people calling me Uncle Chop Chop. I don't like little kids walking up, they've seen the video, they've got no idea who I am. Nothing. No idea who I am at all. And they just, because Chopper was come from a Cardew character, it must roll off their tongue real easy. And they go, Uncle Chop Chop. They've got no idea what they're talking about. You know, and I don't like that. You know, I don't want my kids growing up thinking what I did was any good. I don't want them doing what I did.
You're very anti-drugs, aren't you?
Well, considering that psychiatrists and psychologists and prison authorities have been sticking needles up my arse for damn near 30 years, yes, I am slightly anti-drugs. Yeah.
Is that the extent of your morality?
I've got a pretty good moral code, I think.
What is your moral code?
I don't like child tamperers. I don't like people who interfere with children. I don't like people who hit women. I don't like rapists. I don't like people who purposely interfere with women, kids, old people, and you know, I mean, there's plenty of money out there to be taken off people that can stand on their own 2 feet. We're around here picking on women, kids, old people, harmless people, and you know.
You've led a violent, lawless life, and you can be ruthless, manipulative, cunning. We've seen that you're prepared to be immoral if it suits your ends. Are we missing something here? What about you as a good man?
Well, I'm not trying to be a good man. I just want to live my life now. You know, what I did in the past, well, that was then. Now I'm doing other things. People in a roundabout way. I'm not saying you are, but people in a roundabout way keep asking me to apologise. And as I said to a Supreme Court judge once, if you're waiting for a heartfelt apology or a tearful rendition of Danny Boy, you're going to be a long time waiting, because I don't regret nothing I did. I don't regret my past. If you were in the same situation in that jail with me at that time, believe me, if you had a choice, you'd be standing right beside me. You know, because at the end of the goal, it's called survival. You've got 2 choices, live or die, survive or don't survive, right? You get to the other end, and we'll figure out the rights and wrongs for it when you get to the other end.
In your first book, at the end of it, you write, to the young blokes out there who look up to me, stay at school. And if you have made up your minds to be gangsters, then get yourself a briefcase and become a gangster in the boardrooms of the nation, because that's how the real gangsters do it. Yeah. What were you telling them? Basically, don't do what I've done.
Well, you know, I was never a big crook. I was a small-time, street-level criminal. Right? I used more violence. I used to crack nuts with sledgehammers, you know, but I was never a big crook. I was just a small crook, you know.
Pretty impressive rap sheet, Chopper.
No. So that's just getting arrested for rubbish. I was never a big money criminal. I wouldn't know what big money looked like.
No, that's not big money. It's not rubbish to point a shotgun at a judge. That's not rubbish. That's serious stuff.
Well, I wanted to get my best mate out of jail whatever at. I ended up becoming quite friendly with that judge afterwards. Yeah. We corresponded right up to his death. I ended up, you know...
But it's not rubbish.
Yeah, but it's not Al Capone. I was just I was a small level street level Melbourne crook who just, you know, for some reason, I don't know, used a bit more violence than I needed to.
You tell kids, basically, said in your book, don't do what I've done. But you went on to write another 9 books, I think it was, 10 books, glorifying, exaggerating violence and crime. Why?
Because they sold well.
And you don't think that maybe there was a better way to pay society back than that?
I could have taken up the violin, but I wrote him a crime book. I mean, I was in touch with a man who was a senior crime reporter, John Sylvester, senior crime reporter for the Melbourne Sun, and he was Andrew Rule, a Walkley Prize-winning something or other, down with the Age newspaper, and I was corresponding with these people, and it was just sort of like come about. We'll write a book, you know, they'll publish it.
So if you'd stuffed up your own life, as you said you have, and you're away from what you were, you're no longer who this man was, why would you want to give back to society that way by encouraging young people in society to the glamour of crime and violence, however exaggerated it might be? Surely you could make a moral judgment at that point not to.
Yeah, I think you're overanalysing things a bit too much. I mean...
Seriously? You sold 300,000 copies of your first book. Don't tell me I'm overanalysing.
No, well, I've sold the damn site more than 300,000.
That's just your first book. That's a lot of people have read your books. A lot of people have got off on what you've written.
Yeah,
it's pretty simple.
Because a lot of people like crime books that were written by people that had no bloody idea how to write a crime book.
But that's what makes your book surely that much more effective.
And I said, well, I'll write him a bloody crime book. And I wrote him a crime book. And that's what I did.
Does it matter to you? Fame or infamy, does it matter?
It did when I was younger, but I've come to grips with my ego. Sort of, I think my ego's sort of half dead now, or damn near paralysed.
It wouldn't be, or else you wouldn't be on this show.
I said it's paralysed.
Yeah. Do you enjoy living the chopper myth?
Well, I don't live it. I live in a little house in Collingwood. I drink in a pub around the corner.
To everyone else you live it, though. To everyone else.
Well, what is the myth? What is the myth?
It's the myth you've created in the books.
Yeah, but what do they live the myth? What do you imagine I do during the course of my day?
It's what people view you as a killer, as a psychopath, as a wild man. That's the myth that you've created.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy it?
What? Enjoy what? What they think in their head.
Enjoy what you've created.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know whether I enjoy it. What's to enjoy?
Would you like to be accepted as a normal member of society?
I think everyone would eventually like to be accepted as a normal member of society. I wonder at times will it ever happen, because people are greatly taken up by my past and diagnosing it and psychoanalysing every bloody aspect of it, and my past is starting to bore me. That's why I don't write no more sort of like crime books. I'm trying to get away from them. I'm not sorry I wrote them, but I'm finding the whole thing a bit boring. Now everyone's dropping off the twig left, right and centre. I could write a ripping good yarn now about it all. But I couldn't be bothered, you know. I mean, how many times? I'm just like, boring.
So, what should people think about your chopper? Are you Chopper or are you Mark Reed?
Well, I'm Mark Reed. Mark Reed, Chopper Reed. I mean, they called me Chopper since, what, grade 3? What am I, uninvent me nickname? I don't know.
I'm not talking about the nickname, I'm talking about the myth.
All right, the myth. The myth is there. You're a very difficult man to talk to. You got me. I don't know.
One of the things I've learned over 4 years of Enough Rope is that silence can sometimes be the best question, and even better as an answer. Weird, isn't it, that an interview show's most powerful moments can be those when nothing at all is being said? Why don't you just write the book that sets it straight?
I will, ultimately, in the end. I will. The very, very last book. Because that is the story. The real story is about how a bloke in jail and 2 newspaper reporters got together and did this. You know.
I look forward to the book. Mark Reed, thanks for coming in.
Good on you.